Before I even start this video, let me tell you Netflix is a great tool for language learning, and in this video I will be showing you how to utilize that tool. Hi there, I'm Stephanie. For those of you who don't know me, I make videos on topic of language learning. There are so many ways to learn a language, there are so many suggestions and so much advice out there. And on my channel I share what's worked for me and what I believe can work for you. I have learned 10 languages so far. I speak 8 of them, 2 are in development, and I love to learn languages. I think it's something that I'll always do, and that passion has led me to creating this channel. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. Now, in today's video, of course, as I already mentioned, as the topic, the title suggests, I will be teaching you how to learn language with Netflix, but I'll be sharing what's worked for me. So here's what I think before we jump into how it's when it comes to learning a language with Netflix. Of course, this isn't to say that Netflix is all you need to learn a language. There's nothing else that you might need, because Netflix isn't going to help you if you are watching a Korean drama and you don't know the characters. Obviously you need some sort of a tool to learn the characters outside of that. Or for example, maybe you want to learn a little bit more about literary language because you're studying Russian lit, or let's say maybe you want to learn to use a language that is a bit more professional, something like that. So it's not a one-size-fits-all, but here's what I believe. I think in general I love comprehensible input, and if you are new to language learning, you haven't researched much, you might not know what that is. And it's basically input or stories or messages, anything that is actually comprehensible, that is understood by the reader, viewer, listener, etc. So at the end of the day, comprehensible input is about finding something that you're able to understand. So I'm sorry, but listening while you sleep, you're never going to learn that way. This is not comprehensible. It is input, but it's not comprehensible. So the thing is that messages needs to be comprehensible. That's a big part of how we learn languages. I'm a huge believer of this theory. Many great polyglots are, and I've interviewed them on my channel, and they share this work beautifully for them as well. So with Netflix, to go back to that aspect of learning, I'm not saying that you can become completely fluent with Netflix, although you can for some languages. It really depends on how distant the language is from you, and as I mentioned, you need to learn characters elsewhere, etc. Or maybe your brain doesn't work that way. Maybe watching movies and TV shows isn't all that you need to learn. Maybe you want to do some reading too. At the end of the day, it can do one of two things, again depending on the language and your own circumstances. It can either speed, charge, boost your language learning. It can teach you a lot, it can help you learn a ton, and it can boost your skills. Or maybe you even become fluent in a new language using Netflix. So you can do one of those two things with it, and I don't know, maybe you don't become fluent with it, but if it's gonna boost your learning and make you learn more quickly, more enjoyably, then obviously it's a great tool. Personally, I learned Portuguese with Netflix, and for me that's because I already spoke Spanish, so I didn't really necessarily need much else. So I just completely learned it through watching movies and TV shows and YouTube videos, actually. So not entirely Netflix, because I also included YouTube videos, but it's very similar content. YouTube, Netflix is kind of super similar. But what I think is good when it comes to Netflix is you don't really need to put in that much effort. As I mentioned, YouTube videos. But with YouTube videos, you kind of have to know what channels to go to. With Netflix, it's very easy to just browse the catalog and see what is available in the language that you're studying. They can be original shows, or they can just be dubbed in the language that you're studying. But searching by audio language is super easy, and by subtitle language, of course. So that just makes it so much easier. And of course, it's a different type of entertainment. It's movies, it's TV, it's not necessarily videos, etc. So it can be very interesting. Most of us love certain TV shows, certain movies. So obviously learning through things you love and through passion, that's been proven to be very effective. Then on the other hand, it also engages so many things, because it helps make it more comprehensible, because you see when somebody's speaking, you also see their facial expressions. You can turn on subtitles. And you know, a lot of that is just comprehension aid, and a lot of that is engaging multiple senses at the same time, because you can listen, you can read the subtitles, so doing both at the same time, and then you get the context of like body language and stuff. So it engages so much of your brain, and that makes it extremely helpful. I mentioned subtitles, and I made a whole video on this, like should you turn on subtitles when you're watching a movie, TV show. The thing is, you can go to that video, by the way, you can watch it, you can see what I say there, like all of the tips I give. When do I think it, like what level should you be when you can do it in your native language, when you can do subtitles in your target language, etc. But to reiterate in this video, I don't think that subtitles are as much of a huge deal, because I think sometimes, you know, it's more about the intention. So whether you decide to put on subtitles or not, and whatever language you decide to put them on in, the thing is that when it comes to subtitles, if you're not intentional, it doesn't matter. You know, you can have them on, you can have them off, but the thing is to not treat watching this movie or TV show simply as entertainment. So there has to be that aspect of engagement, of active listening, of active watching. Because if you don't have that, you know, what Steve Kaufman calls the ability to notice, and I love that phrase. If you don't have that ability to notice and that, you know, engagement of your brain, it's like not really useful. You don't learn much. So don't focus so much on, okay, what language do I put subtitles in? Do I put them in 2 rows? Because you can do that with the language factor extension. By the way, you can have subtitles in your target, in your native language. You can choose only one, you can choose without subtitles. It's not that big a deal. So that's one of my tips. Then I mentioned Steve Kaufman, and this is also something that I think can be really useful with Netflix, is using the app that he built, Link, to learn a language. Now, I've talked about Link before on my channel. You know, it has thousands of hours of content in so many languages, thousands of languages. So it can be super useful to actually aid with Netflix learning, because Link has a lot of features. And yeah, those thousands of hours of content, you can engage with those. It can be reading, listening, whatever you want, all great comprehensible input. But in particular, when it comes to learning with Netflix, you can use Link to actually import shows into the app and turn every episode into a lesson, or a whole movie if you'd like. The way that it works is super simple, and I'm gonna illustrate with one of my favorite Spanish language TV shows, La Casa de Papel. So this is a TV show that I would highly recommend if you're studying Spanish, by the way. In particular, it has a lot of peninsular Spanish, but I don't necessarily think that the varieties matter that much. You can learn all varieties or just a couple, whatever you prefer. Sorry about the noises, by the way. If it is loud outside, I decided to have this more of a fun filming setting for today. Anyways, back to how to import a show. Let's say you selected La Casa de Papel. So you go and download the Link browser extension, and through it you can import different shows. So let's say that you want to import a show into your Spanish lessons on Link, right? So all you have to do is click import, and the extension is going to do everything, and then you can go and see the lesson. So it pulls the whole transcript of that, say, episode 1. It pulls the whole transcript of that episode. And when it pulls the transcript, you're able to actually go back and read it at your own pace. Say you've watched the episode, but you want to cement that knowledge. You can go, you can read it, you can generate lesson audio, and so you're going to get this authentic Spanish pronunciation, and you're going to be able to read through at the same time. Or you can import, and then you can kind of have Netflix on your TV, and on your browser you're kind of reading the whole transcript, and if that makes it easier, whatever you prefer. The thing is, you can see this as a full conversation. You can also see it in sentence mode if you want to practice. As if you're a beginner and you want to make your input as comprehensible as possible, you can go slow, you can go in sentence mode. You can then review that lesson. Let's say, okay, I want to turn Netflix into a complete lesson, not just, have the subtitles on and then be finished when I'm done with it. I want to review the words in that episode. Let's say this episode was full of unknown words. I want to review them. You can create what are called links, and you can do that. You can also do it on the go. Let's say that you're going somewhere, you can play that lesson's audio, or if you are, for example, on your couch with your tablet, you can just open up the link app and go ahead. Okay, this is, I can review the lesson now. I can even, for example, let's say you want to do karaoke mode. This is a great feature because, for example, if it's a dialogue on the show, it's really useful because you see it highlighted as if it were karaoke, and which is also great for language learning through music, by the way. But when it comes to Netflix, let's say you see a certain part of speech highlighted, you hear the pronunciation, then you can pause, and then you can say also the next line of the conversation, and then you can unpause and hear the correct pronunciation. So you can also do that. So whether you want to see the transcript, whether you want to review that episode later, create links from it, when you go in sentence mode in karaoke, whatever you want to do, it's right there for you to explore. I suggest you explore many other ways to this. Perhaps I missed something, perhaps you come up with a novel way to learn through Netflix using the link. The important thing is that you can import any episode that you like, any movie that you like, and turn it into a lesson on link. So I think that's wonderful. I think that's a great way to turbocharge your Netflix learning. But in any case, Netflix, as I mentioned, I think it's a great tool. I think it's good because it makes it super easy to just search for TV shows, search for movies based on whatever language you might like, and then at the same time, it also makes it super easy at the end of the day to have this type of comprehensible input that isn't necessarily very strict, very formal, but is fun. And with Link, you can import it and make it a bit more as a formal lesson, but at the same time, it's still based on TV, it's still based on movies, and that is something that makes learning enjoyable, which is a very important part of your learning. Don't forget to have fun. Anyways, I will have everything about Link in the description below. You see what discount code you can use, how you can get a 35% discount on Link. As always, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you here again next time. Bye, and have a wonderful day.